So I realized after getting angry with all of the people that are, hating all over the Jews, that I'm a psych nurse. And there's a reason for this. And I think the reason is because America's never dealt with what happened to the Jews. I would say no country really has. Maybe Germany has. I can't speak for other countries. Nobody has. Everybody likes to say, oh no, there's all these, it's pushed down our throat. No, it's not. It absolutely is not. And so I think that these people, whether it's, Anna or Candace or Dave Smith, it's fear. It's fear, and you don't want to admit it. And the links that people will go to avoid looking, because really, who's responsible for what happened to the Jews? Everybody. Because at some point, everybody has persecuted them. So until we want to realize that, and so this is what happens. People deflect and want to turn it into, it's all about Palestine, when you know that's bullshit, when you know that's Hamas doing it. It always has been. Before them, it was the Palestinian Liberation Organization under Yasser Arafat. It's just a fact, okay? But it's easier, right? Because then you don't have to look at that stuff you don't want to look at. Such as this. Do you know how many children were killed during the Holocaust? 1.5 million. Infants too. Look at the babies. There's nobody there caring for them. They just nobody. And don't come back at me and give me the Palestine bullshit. Hamas and all of these terrorist organizations should have been handled a long time ago. Go look at the videos of what Hamas does to the Palestinians. But don't give me your bullshit because you're too afraid. If America's too afraid to face the fact of what's happened to the Jews and own up to, I'm not saying we're responsible, but all of us played a role in being irresponsible, and even to this day. And so I think all of this anger at the Jews and wanting to blame them for everything is because nobody's wanted to look at how monstrous this was. Instead, you want to turn it around and make it about Palestine. I'm sorry, it's not the Jews persecuting Palestinians. If that's how you want to make yourself feel better because you're too afraid to look at what happened during the Holocaust and how in some ways every country played a role in that disaster becoming the disaster it did, then you're too weak, and that's your problem. But the answer is not to go down the road any of these people are. Jewish children leaving the ghetto to go to the camps. It's not like they were cared for there. It's not like the Nazis flew them out when one of their children had a deformity like Israel did for that child that everybody tried to propagandize that was so malnourished. No, that child had a deformity. And is how many people that when you're at war with them do you know that bring you food, that try to get aid to you, that fly your children and you to the nearest hospital? The Nazis sure as shit wouldn't have done it. And what about the experiments they did on these children? Well, you want to carry on about the Palestinians when it's Hamas hurting them. Have you ever dealt with what's happened to the Jews, or do you just hate the Jews because you're too afraid to look at the truth of what happened to those people? Are you really so sick that these children didn't matter, right? You want to deny the amount of you people that have denied the Holocaust? Think about if your child had been murdered, or all of your family, and people denied that it happened. So that's on you, Americans. If you want to go down the road of Candace Owens and Whitney Webb and these dark people, that don't even want to look at the truth, and don't no American seems to want to look at the truth of what happened to children during the Holocaust. Instead, it's easier to tell yourself this comfortable lie. Well, the Jews are doing this to Palestine. No, they're not. They would never do it, not after what it was done to them. So I don't think there's been enough talk about this. I think that most Americans and the media and even professionals didn't know how to deal with this because it was so monstrous. It was absolute evil. And so everybody just wanted to kind of brush over it. And because of that, there's been a nonstop persecution of the Jews, even in their homeland. These children matter too. And if you think for 1 minute after what all of the Jews went through during the Holocaust, that they would then turn around and do that to any other group of people, then you are not of sound mind. I tell you that as a psychiatric nurse. You are not of sound mind. Family members say goodbye to it. It's not like the Nazis gave a shit. These people knew. Children knew they were going to their deaths, their entire life over. And Americans like Candace Owens or Anna from the Young Turks wants to be angry at the Jews, right? Because it's easier, because then you don't have to look at the fact that your own fear, that your own looking at something you've always been afraid to look at. Because it's so horrendous. It's scary, right? Because it means wickedness does reside in the world, and that scares people. Well, that's when you have to lean on God. And maybe if we mature spiritually as a country, then maybe we will start to see what the real problem is and stop running from what we are afraid of.